Hello, Yates County and beyond. Welcome to this special edition episode of Invasive Species Friday. Normally, in this short weekly podcast, we bring you information about the invasive species in Yates County. Today, we will be covering an invasive that is not yet in the county, but is heading this way. As we mentioned last Friday in the episode about Tree of Heaven, the spotted lanternfly reaching this county is a matter of when, not if. However, with your help, we can mitigate the damage that this insect will cause as it spreads. So let's get squishing with this bonus invasive, the spotted lanternfly. This insect is a type of plant hopper native to China and Southeast Asia. It was first discovered in Berks County, Pennsylvania in 2014 and is believed to have arrived as egg masses on a stone shipment in 2012. 10 years later, infestations have been found in about 17 states, as far west as eastern Illinois, and as far south as Tennessee and North Carolina. Most of Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Delaware, Connecticut, and parts of Maryland have quarantines in effect due to their large spotted lanternfly infestations. We will explain what these quarantines mean later in this episode. The first populations in New York State were found in 2020 in Staten Island and Ithaca. They quickly began to spread beyond the New York City region and Hudson Valley, establishing infestations in the counties of the state's other major cities. In July 2024, an infestation of spotted lanternfly was confirmed in Seneca County. Spotted lanternfly have one generation per year. Females lay 1 or 2 egg masses in their lifetime, each containing 30 to 60 eggs. After laying the eggs, the females will cover them in a putty-like substance that dries to a pinkish gray and turns to a darker tan a few weeks later. The egg masses resemble a splotch of mud and can be on any outdoor surface, so they're not easy to spot. The first instar nymphs hatch in May or June and are about 1/4 of an inch long. They are black with white spots and keep this coloring through their second and third instar stages. Fourth instar nymphs add red to their ensemble and have reached 3/4 of an inch long. They are active from July to mid-August when they begin to molt and become adults. Adult spotted lanternfly are about 1 inch long with black spotted pinkish tan wings over a black striped yellow abdomen. Their hind wings are red with black spots, though those are only seen when they're startled or just before they take flight. The adults lay the egg masses from September to November and then die in November or December, typically by the first killing frost. Despite having wings, spotted lanternflies can only fly small distances. They may be called a fly and look like a moth, but they're more closely related to cicadas and leafhoppers. To move on their own, they typically rely on their powerful hind legs to launch themselves impressive distances. Unfortunately, this bug often gets help moving locations by hitchhiking. Adults fly into vehicles and picking bins while produce is being loaded and are then transported to new areas. Egg masses, which again can be laid on any outside surface, often go unnoticed when boxes, trailers, stones, or any other movable object gets taken somewhere else. Transportation by human activity is the main cause of long-distance movement, and the primary reason spotted lanternfly has not yet been contained. For most people, this invasive species seems like a nuisance insect. It doesn't bite or sting, but it does feed on the sugary sap of plants in large swarms. It extracts the nitrogen and amino acids from the sap before excreting the leftover sugar water in huge quantities, all over everything. This sticky excretion, called honeydew, accumulates and is the perfect place for layers of sooty mold fungi to grow. The black mold makes crops unmarketable and can inhibit leaves' photosynthetic capacity. The honeydew also gives off a fermentation odor, which attracts bees and wasps, increasing the risk of getting stung in areas of spotted lanternfly infestations. Though the Tree of Heaven is the preferred native host, spotted lanternfly feeds on more than 100 different species of plants. Other preferred hosts include black walnut, hops, late-season maples, and grapes. The beaks of the first 3 instar stages are not strong enough to feed on woody tissue, so they primarily stay on annual plants, or the new growth of perennial plants. The 4th instar nymphs and early adults are able to penetrate the tree trunks and have a strong preference towards Tree of Heaven if it is available. Those who feed on the invasive lay many more eggs than those who feed on other sources. Later in the season, when the sap flow of the tree of heaven is reduced, the adults will move on to other food sources. Most crops and trees seem to be able to handle being fed on by the spotted lanternfly. It can cause stress, which makes plants more vulnerable to diseases and other insects, but typically the plant will survive and recover. Grapes, which are a significant part of the economy in the Finger Lakes region, are more sensitive to the depletion of reserves and stored starches. Infestations in vineyards can cause oozing, wilting, defoliation, dieback, yield loss, quality reduction, loss of cold hardiness, and ultimately lead to plant death. Between the loss of marketable apples due to city mold and the decline in vineyard production, spotted lanternfly presents a looming economic threat to our region. We need to curb the spread of this invasive before it does irreparable damage, and we need your help to do it. Earlier, we mentioned the spotted lanternfly quarantines set up in many of the states with infestations. Each state has its own guidelines, but everyone should be aware of the best practices to avoid the spread of these pests. First, you should become familiar with what every stage of the life cycle looks like. Some education materials highlight the adult stage, so that's what most people look for. However, that stage is only present for at most 6 months, and it is crucial that people also look for egg masses as well as the other stages. Next, if you stop in a quarantined area, or an area where there is a known infestation, you should check yourself and your vehicle for any hitchhikers. There is evidence that the spotted lanternfly can hold on to vehicles going 65 miles per hour. These little buggers are tenacious, so check trailers, campers, equipment, grills, roof racks, wheel wells, and truck beds. If you're moving an item from an infested or quarantined area, it should also be inspected not only for the nymphs and adults, but for the mud-like smears of egg masses. While there are not currently any internal quarantines in New York State, there are external quarantines restricting the movement of goods and vehicles that could potentially transport spotted lanternfly into the state. In some states, like Pennsylvania, however, there are in-state quarantines that require businesses to have permits to demonstrate their understanding of quarantine requirements. There are also inspections, record-keeping requirements, and compliance agreements. So the quarantines are not currently in effect in New York State. They may be enacted in the future as the bug spreads across the state. Make sure you check with your local extension, Department of Agriculture and Markets, or Partnership for Regional Invasive Species Management offices for up-to-date regulations and management strategies in your area. If you do happen to find a spotted lanternfly, take pictures. If possible, try to collect the insect in a resealable bag and place it in the freezer, or stick it in a jar with rubbing alcohol or hand sanitizer. Make sure you record the location that you found it. The street address and zip code are great, but you can also use intersecting roads, landmarks, or GPS coordinates if you don't know the address. Then email the picture and location to spottedlanternfly@agriculture.ny.gov, or fill out the online form, which is linked in the description of this episode. Also linked in the description is a checklist created by the New York State Integrated Pest Management Program out of Cornell University. This list gives examples of where the bug might be hiding, as well as links to the online form and the NYSIPM Spotted Lanternfly webpage, where you can find more information on management tools and tactics. If you find egg masses, you can scrape them off with a scraper card or anything else with a flat, hard, and/or tapered edge. Place the egg masses in a resealable bag with rubbing alcohol or hand sanitizer to make sure the eggs are killed. You can also smash or burn them. Finally, before we finish up this special episode, there's been a call for volunteers in New York to look for both spotted lanternfly and tree of heaven and report the findings to IMAP Invasives. For more information on training opportunities and how to volunteer, please check out the link in the description. It's not often that we have the opportunity to raise awareness of a looming invasive threat before it takes hold. We ask that you please spread the word about the spotted lanternfly. Educate yourself and others, keep your eyes peeled on your adventures, and help us contain this threat to our economy and quality of life. And with that, we have reached the end of this special edition bonus episode of Invasive Species Friday. As always, we at the Yates CCE thank you for supporting our fight against invasive species in Yates County.